Hey everyone, it's Mithrilda and welcome back to my journey of learning to draw. So this is my new apartment and my new studio space and I am so excited to be here. Unfortunately, I don't know why, I've just been really procrastinating doing an apartment/studio tour, so I felt like I should really push myself to make a video anyway, because I was thinking, well, of course I have to do an apartment tour first and then make any other videos, which was holding me back from making videos. So here I am. So in my previous video, I was talking about how I've been having trouble focusing while I study. And one of the methods I've been using to combat that is I've been streaming basically every one of my study sessions. So if you want to check that out and study along with me, you can check in the description below for the link to my Twitch, and my stream schedule will be on there. So during one of those streams, I had grabbed all of my art books and I was showing them off, and I was really sad because I have not read or really learned from most of these. And I thought, like, it would be a cool video to go through all these books that I own, even though I haven't read most of them, and show them off in case anyone else was interested in them. Like, I bought most of these because I liked what they looked like on the outside or because people had recommended them to me, but I never saw the inside before I bought them, and some of these I started reading and realized they were way too advanced for where I was. But then I thought, you know what's better than showing off a bunch of books I haven't read on my shelf, but showing off a bunch of books that other people have recommended to me that they have read and that they think would be good for me. But books that, you know, I already have this giant stack of books that I haven't read yet, so I feel like I'm having a hard time justifying buying more books that I feel like might help my art that I will also not read. But I do want to share that knowledge because, of course, I'm the only one who has ever read all the comments on my channel. And I feel like there's so much information out there that, you know, isn't getting out there because not everyone's just scanning all my comments. So I wanted to share some of the books that people have recommended to me that I have not read. And I would love to start a conversation about them and about your favorite books. I don't think I'm going to be able to get to everything in one video, so I would love to make a couple videos sharing different books that people have recommended to me and hearing your thoughts on them. Okay, so the first one, and the book and messages that really inspired this whole video in the first place, came to me through an Instagram DM. And this person is an artist who I've looked at their profile a lot, I've looked at their art, and I'm like, wow, their art is so gorgeous, their portraits are so nice, and I was really shook when they messaged me. And they said, I was rewatching one of your vids, and you said you don't know how to capture likeness. There's a Chinese artist and mathematician called Dr. Wei Xu. And immediately I'm like, mathematician? Artist? Tell me more. He invented a method for drawing absolutely anything, which is the one I use for drawing my portraits. Google "drawing in the digital age" and you'll find his book on Amazon. His method works. Have fun. And I said, thank you so much for the suggestion. And he said, no problem. It's really going to improve your art. It improved mine almost immediately. And I was like, great, that sounds amazing. Especially, you know, I don't know if I can call myself a mathematician, but I have a math degree. I do math at my job, and I felt like that was really appealing. So I decided to look up. Okay, so here we are on the Amazon page for Drawing in the Digital Age, an observational method for artists and animators. And I was poking around here a little bit because I was already thinking of making a video when I first looked up the book. And I realized that Amazon gives you a lot more of a preview than I imagined. So let's just go through this a bit together. An observational method for artists and animators. That's telling me that this is going to teach me to draw from life or to draw from a picture, not necessarily from imagination. And something else that caught my eye about the author. Wei Xu, PhD, is a computer scientist, mathematician, and artist. And onward here, Dr. Xu obtained his doctoral degree in computer graphics and applied mathematics from the University of Texas at Austin. That is literally, that's my school. I just graduated from there in December. And I feel like at this point, like, how can I not get this book? You know what I mean? Like, gotta support fellow Longhorns. So let's take a look at the table of contents. Chapter 1, Understanding the Relationship Between Math and Art, Extracting Graphical Structures, a Scientific Point of View, Drawing with the ABC Method, Drawing Simple Objects, Drawing Complicated Objects, Drawing Complicated Scenes, Using Advanced Techniques, Using Special Techniques for Drawing Human Bodies. Using Special Techniques for Drawing Human Bodies. And here is a more detailed look at the table of contents. I think it's really cool how there's so much to preview. I had no idea. Here, my 13-year-old daughter's pencil drawings after 2 years of practice with the ABC method. That's pretty cool. That's Taylor Swift and the guy from people from Twilight. Sorry, who should read this book? This book was designed to teach basic drawing skills to a general audience. Anyone who seriously wants to learn basic drawing skills should consider reading this book because the ABC method makes drawing easier and more efficient. A beginner will benefit greatly from this book by learning the scientific method to observe and draw objects that is presented early on, instead of various experimental methods. You will find that the learning curve is much flatter when you use logic instead of feelings as a guide to drawing. In case you have already learned other methods, this book also provides another perspective on the existing methods so that you can quickly understand their strengths and weaknesses. If you are an experienced artist, you are probably still using some traditional methods, either for fun or for your job. This book will bring you a new set of theories and practices that make your drawing more accurate and efficient. The scientific principles presented in this book will enable you to look at the drawing process from a totally new angle and manage graphical information in a systematic manner. You can expect your drawing skills to improve simply by applying the new principles and techniques presented in this book. If you are a technical person, either a science student or an engineer, you may view yourself as lacking art talent before you read this book. In actuality, this book is an ideal tool for you to change this self-image because your technical strengths will be a major plus for learning the drawing method taught in this book. You may find that it makes perfect sense to apply mathematic theories and scientific principles to art. I lectured on my method to senior computer science students at Zhejiang University in China in the summer of 2011, and many technical students picked up the method very quickly. And so I think that is really cool. I mean, the whole thing appeals to me because I'm definitely a more technical person. You know, I am a math major, I do math for my job. I don't think I have any natural artistic talent, if you could call it that. Like, nobody would have looked at me as a child and said, like, oh, this person will become a great musician or a great artist or whatever, like some kids are. And this makes me think of the iterative drawing video by Psychra, where he talks about how he is a more analytic, technical person, and he had a lot of trouble understanding the language that more like artistic people used when it came to describing art. And I feel like this book, Dr. Xu, might understand my point of view more than someone who comes from like an artistic background who doesn't have like that technical analytic mindset, if you know what I mean. It's like, it's just different kinds of people like different types of teachers. Like, some people learn better from audiobooks or videos or reading. And I think, and it makes sense that most art instruction books are written by people with that like artistic mindset. And I don't really understand it as someone who is more technical, so this seems really cool. Alright, so let's take a look at the reviews. First review, disappointing. Sharing a similar professional background as the author, I was really looking forward to a scientific take on drawing instruction. Many pages are spent reviewing the state of the art in traditional drawing approaches. This works well for a scientific paper, but here it would have been more worthwhile to describe the new approach instead of criticizing traditional art instruction. Even more pages go towards a computer graphics primer. If you have a CG background, that information is trivial. If you do not, then the material is probably too complicated, but at the same time, also unnecessary for the practice of drawing. After reading about half the book, I was hoping to finally learn what the precise steps are for this new drawing approach. In fact, the author acknowledges that the reader at this point is probably eager to pull out a pencil and start practicing, but then this is followed by more theoretical discussions. Eventually, we reach the chapters where specific types of objects and settings are discussed, with some tips and tricks on how to improve drawing these special cases. I felt like jumping from a lot of theoretical background into an advanced section of practical application, with no instruction of the practical basics of the author's approach. A simple way of remedying this would be another 2 or 3 chapters in the middle of the book discovering the precise steps for drawing a simple scene. E.g., Step 1, find the largest contour. Step 2, find markers with near orthogonal lines. Step 3, draw first marker and transfer angle measurements, etc. Perhaps this book is a helpful refresher if you have taken one of the author's live classes, but just from reading the book I was unable to figure out exactly how his drawing approach is supposed to work. So this person is not satisfied with the book. So what's the point? Our second review here is a 5-star review. Xu takes the voodoo out of art. He demonstrates methodology and workflow that enables the artist to better see where things go, how things fit. He doesn't talk about feelings or how a line is alive, but rather talks in terms of sequence, iteration, decision, and intentional abstraction and generalization to organize thinking and tasks. He shows how to simplify the complex and how to refine the simple. He uses the methods of mathematics and computer science to show how an artist can solve spatial problems. While he wastes some time at the beginning using mathematics to defend his position, the application of it that follows is pure gold. Xu's very special skill is clarity and simplicity in explaining his thinking. Good pool players play good pool, but few, if any, can clearly explain how they do it. I'm a fair pool player, but I hit a point where my game was not improving. Then, I stumbled upon edge-to-edge aiming and pivoting that allowed further improvement. What is interesting about all this is that the presenter of these techniques rediscovered them by carefully observing eye and body motions of professional pool players and interpreted for the rest of us what he thought was actually taking place. In a similar fashion, I believe that drawing methods are often not clearly explained. My favorite example of this is seeing 5 lines and then seeing the finished product and you're left thinking, how did that happen? Xu is an artist that has a background that is all about defining structure and process. He uses his cross-discipline knowledge to demonstrate the problems that need solving and how they are solved. In short, he explains what takes place, probably on an intuitive level between an artist's ears, assuming they haven't been cut off yet. He demonstrates that drawing is an engineering task that benefits from a certain degree of hand-eye coordination, yet does not require superhuman hand-eye coordination. Xu exposes the seeing, the organizing, and the execution of drawing. Xu's language and writing is clear, concise, well-ordered, a joy to read, and very much appreciated. Xu intentionally documented a workflow that involves only pencil and paper, and I am sorry that he didn't explore more deeply using tools/software like Photoshop or Painter layers. He did, after all, use the digital word. My first drawing using these techniques was awful, but it was good enough that I could see some things that I did right. I could spot tangible/fixable problems. This is a massive step forward for me, and I thank you for this, Wei Xu. Practice, 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 they say. Well, it is wonderful indeed when you are given something to practice that improves your skill. It is a wonderful feeling to be able to make progress, to improve. This book gives you that. So, after all this inane rambling, what's the point? Get the damn book. You won't go wrong. Okay, so there's a couple interesting ideas here in this review. I feel like this is really relatable to me, the fact that people can be wonderful, wonderful artists and have no idea how to explain how they do it. They just say things like, just keep drawing until it feels right, just follow the flow, just follow the gesture, and like if you can feel the contours in your hands. And it's just a bunch of things that I don't understand, and I feel like it's a language that you start understanding after you learn how to draw, which doesn't really help me as an outsider who doesn't know how to draw. And this is really appealing to me. I guess that's all I can say. Things are getting a little bit long, but I don't want to just look at one book during this video. So, as an adult who has now moved out here into this apartment, I have a bit of hobby budget money left, and I think I will be using it to buy this book. It looks really cool. I have never heard of it before. I guess I can look up when it came out to see if that'll explain it. So March 6, 2012. So I guess it's a pretty recent book. I feel like I've, heard about a ton of different art books, but never this one before. I guess we will see how it is. But this whole connection to math really fascinates me as someone who has studied math and is a more technical person and who just doesn't understand what artists are saying a lot of times. Next up, we have this comment from Gemini Art on one of my videos. 2 videos ago, I think, where I was talking about how I just got a job and how I needed to figure out how to balance my time to both practice my art and do my other hobbies and be a good employee and adult. And so this person says, time management is tough, but the cool thing about learning to draw is that improvement is a third observation, another third understanding, and one last third execution. Even if you don't have time to draw, you still have 2/3 of the package you can work on by reading good sources and observing your teachings in the real world. I don't know if you've seen The Matrix, but when Neo becomes the One, he's able to see the source code of everything, the building blocks of reality. And it's very much the same when learning to draw people. When you learn anatomy, like really learn anatomy, you can't stop seeing it in everything you observe. And you start to break down people in your head as you observe them. But if your friends ask you why you're staring at them funny, just tell them you spaced out, not that you're noticing their anatomical proportions. Lol. I want to leave you with a couple of tips. First is, don't shackle yourself too heavily to constructions or it can limit you. People are deviations from the average standards, so try to play around with more loose constructions so you can explore those deviations more freely. Secondly, I want to recommend a book called Dynamic Figure Drawing by Burne Hogarth. The title pretty much explains where it helps, but it also ties into my third suggestion, which is to try out some hatching. Hatching is a method of rendering that forces you to follow the forms. Burne's drawings are all hatched, so replicating his drawings through studies really serves to build confidence in the forms you lay down. Good luck. So, I have heard about this book before. I feel like everyone's heard about it. And like all of these art books, there's a lot of conflicting opinions, it seems, about every single one of them. So let's take a look at it on Amazon. This book, too, also has quite an extensive preview, more than it seemed like it had from the Amazon page. I have seen a lot of people studying his work, and I see this book recommended a lot. And I feel like the people who learn from his material have really impressive drawings. So let's take a look at the table of contents. 1. The definitive body forms. 2. Figure notation in deep space. Figure unity in deep space, interconnection of forms. Figure invention, controlling size in foreshortened forms. Ooh. Controlling length in foreshortened forms. Figure projection in deep space. I guess I don't get to see the rest of the table of contents. Oh wait, okay, the next one is the conclusion, so that's the end of the book. We get to preview some of the drawings. They look very beautiful. Very gorgeous. I'm not really sure what else to say. I don't actually know very much about this book. Let's take a look at the reviews. I'll just start from the top. Old school and perfect. This was the book that started it all for me as a teen. Through his books, Mr. Hogarth became my mentor as I learned to draw the human being in motion, and his books still teach and inspire me today. My daughter now uses his books to help her with techniques in how to draw people, clothing, etc., as they are in nature, in motion. Book arrived in perfect condition. Daughter and I are delighted. Thanks bunches. That is so wholesome. I love that. Next, very effective. This book and the series by Hogarth in general are a class apart in teaching the figure. In no other book have I seen the body masses so clearly and simply presented that with just one look you understand the form and add it to your repertoire, just like that. One striking difference we notice is the three-dimensional presentation of the drawings, using probably charcoal or a very soft pencil. How else will we understand the forms if it is not rendered in 3 dimensions? Yet so many books exist, even the ones from greats such as Loomis, where you would see a more finished figure where the contours take over, making the student wonder, why is a line in front of the other, etc. Hogarth aims at dispensing such doubts and to get rid of the guesswork from the minds of the artist. He talks about inventing the figure and about a notation of representing the figure in deep space, meaning 3 dimensions. As the masters such as Wilpu would say, drawing is all about learning how to represent the form in 2-dimensional paper, and about knowing the form one wants to draw. We do get both in this book by Hogarth, more actually on the forms of the figure. More than half the book presents the figure, the various parts, the torso, the limbs, and the head in great detail using simple 3-dimensional form, and the remainder of the book deals with how one would approach, or rather go about, drawing the figure. An interesting approach here is to begin with the torso, and not with the head. Torso, legs, arms, and then comes the head, and surprise, surprise, this is such an effective way of setting up the figure in the desired gesture. Wilpu would talk about a ball and a box and a sock to study the torso. Bridgman would also talk in detail about these 2 forms. Hogarth lays down explicitly the order and importance. This approach must be tried before understanding its effectiveness. This is overall a great book for the figurative art student. I found it most effective because every single picture in this book teaches me something that I can apply directly. The rendering of the forms makes it so easy to understand them and cast to memory not only the form but its relations to the other forms and contexts, as well as what happens when they twist and turn and go about doing whatever a figure would do. This book stays right at the top along with Kimon, Nicolaides, Glenn Wilpu, and Bridgman. Wow, that is quite the recommendation for this book. And now I really want to buy this one too. And I feel like this is a really bad idea to make this video about things that I can spend money on. But what is your opinion? Like, what is important to you in an art book? What kinds of books do you learn well from? Like, this really sounds appealing to me. The fact that apparently he draws everything in 3 dimensions, and I think that means that he draws through the forms, like drawing the backside of the square, like drawing the backside of the sphere, like drawing the other ear on the head, etc. And that sounds really cool because I really relate to these lines where you see these gorgeous finished drawings in these art books and like there's really no explanation or hand holding to get you from point A to point B. I feel like I need hand holding. I don't really know what's going on. And something that I've noticed with the reviews for art books is that you don't get to see the art of the people who leave these reviews. Because something that is super helpful to someone else, I feel like I might not have the prerequisite information to be able to learn and understand it properly. For example, this book right here, Freehand Figure Drawing for Illustrators. I felt like that sounded so cool. I wanted to learn how to draw figures, like, great. And the reviews were all really positive, and literally, like, the first exercise is to draw a figure in perspective inside of a box. And mind you, I still can't do that now. But when I bought this book years and years ago, I don't think I'd ever even studied drawing like a picture of a figure from reference even. Like I never even tried to draw a person before. And I was like, great, this book will teach me how to draw people. Spoiler alert, it did not teach me how to draw people. This book was for a much higher skill level than where I was at. And you know, as a beginner and as a young child who was very hopeful about learning art, I fell into that trap where you're just like, ooh, that looks really cool. People love it. And then you don't realize these are people who have been drawing for like 10 years that are like, great, thanks for the extra skill set to add to my repertoire. And this is something I definitely have to watch out for because I am still not advanced enough to learn a lot of things from, you know, some books. Some books are just for beginners. Some of them are for intermediates and some are for really advanced people. And the books that the people I look up to recommend, a lot of them are for skill levels that are way above where I am currently, and therefore I cannot learn from them properly. It is frustrating to read them and not understand what's going on. and I have a lot of background reading to do. It's just without a teacher, you know, there's no one here to tell me, hey, like, what are you doing with that like super high level stuff when you can't even draw a line? And like, you don't understand observational drawing. How can you even copy the figures from these books if you don't know how to observe properly? And you know, like being self-taught, I don't have anyone to say like, hey, fuck off, like this isn't for you, this is for later. And all you're gonna do is frustrate yourself and feel like you can't draw if you try to learn from these books that you're not ready for. That was a big rant. Anyways, please tell me what you think of these books. I really want both of them. I'm just not gonna read them, just like all these books. What am I doing with my life? So I'll have to figure this out, I guess. Figure out what to do. Please, yeah, share your thoughts on these books. Share any books that you would like to recommend. In the next video, I'm planning on sharing more art books people have recommended to me, as well as other types of books. Books on focus and books on habit building that people have recommended to me. And I have not read all of them. I have not looked into all of them. There are so many, but I want to share them with you in case one of these really appeals to you and is able to help you. I want you guys to be able to help each other, not necessarily take all of my recommendations, because I apparently don't read anything. Anyways, this has gotten a lot longer than I thought it would. I hope this was entertaining and or helpful. Either one would be great. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you guys stay safe and healthy. Please remember that talent is a myth, but it helps to get the right resources for your skill level and that meshes with your way of thinking. Have a great day, everyone. Now, get back to work.